What is going on, everybody, and welcome to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, I'm CST Gaming Mellow, and this is Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Today I'm doing the first of its kind video here. We're gonna do a quick and dirty tutorial on how to get the PMDG started from cold and dark up in the air and landed at the arrival airport. Let me preface this by saying that this is a very summarized checklist. This is a procedure for a flight simmer. This is not real life. I am not, nor do I claim to be a real pilot. So if you want a full-born run through the checklist from cold and dark and all the required checks that the real Southwest airline or Delta airline do, you are indeed in the wrong channel, and you should go look for a real pilot somewhere on YouTube or somebody that claims to be one, and go watch his tutorials. Again, this is a tutorial down and dirty, quick, from a flight simmer to other flight simmer on how to get the Boeing 737 PMDG up in the air safely and efficiently. So with that said, let's go ahead and cut through all the preliminary BS and go right in the plane and get started. Now, once in the cockpit, the first thing I'm going to do, if it's dark like it is now, I'm going to press right Alt and L to get my flashlight on. Once my flashlight on, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that my parking brake is indeed set. The landing gear lever is down, flaps are up, speed brakes are stowed, and my throttle levers are set to idle. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to the overhead panel and I'm going to get my plane systems up and running. First thing I'm going to do is switch the battery switch to on. I'm going to switch the emergency exterior lights to on, and then we're going to go ahead and request a ground power unit by going to FS Actions, Ground Service, and request ground power unit, and then we'll quickly look up again. Turn off our flashlight as we don't need it anymore. We're going to wait for a ground power to come on. There it is. That means that the ground power unit is ready to go. And we're going to go ahead and switch our ground power to on. We're going to quickly look up and we're going to turn our dome light to on because it's dark in there. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn our Windows E on. I'm going to go ahead and turn my ELEC 1 and 2 on for hydraulics. Our IRS 1 and 2 are going to be set to nav. We're going to go ahead and turn our seats and signs on. External lights at this point are not required. Yacht damper can go ahead and come on at this point as well. We're going to go ahead and quickly look at our panels here and wait for everything to come alive. All right, once everything is come alive, if you were on a network right now, you will be requesting for clearance. Once you're able to obtain your clearance, then you're going to start with the following. We're going to go ahead and look at our Nigrograph. We're going to obtain our METARs or look at the ASUS if there's a control online. And we're going to start by setting our altimeter, which in our case here in Oklahoma City, Will Rogers is 2997. So we can do that by going to this knob and setting 2997 on the altimeter. If we keep going down our condensed checklist, we're going to set our transponder to whatever squawk code was given to us. In our case, we do not have ATC online here, so we're going to set 2000. And our transponder should be in standby at this point. And we are going to go through the process of getting everything set up in the FMC. So the first thing we're going to do is go to our electronic flight bag, request data from SimBrief. There you go. There's our departure airport. Everything is good to go there. We're going to go down to our FMCs and we're going to start with the process of inserting all our information. All right. The first thing we're going to do is click on FMC. We're going to make sure that our nav data and ARAC cycle is correct. If you're satisfied with that and you have the most current ARAC data cycle that you can get, go ahead and go to position in it. We're going to start by putting our position, which is KOKC in the reference block. And then our gate, which is gate not 18 in our gate block. Once we've done that, we're gonna go to the next page. We're gonna copy our left GPS into the scratch pad. We're gonna go to the previous page and we're gonna paste it into our RS position, and everything should align just like so. Once you've done that, you're gonna go ahead and select route. You're gonna clear your scratch pad, and you're gonna go ahead and request your flight plan. If you've done everything correctly through StreamBrief, you're gonna be able to import your flight plan from StreamBrief just like so. Once you have clicked that, you're gonna set your payload, and you're gonna set your fuel. Once you're satisfied with your payload and your fuel, you're gonna click on select route. Now over here, you're gonna wait a few seconds for the route to say load. Once it says load, go ahead and click on load. And there you go. Once your route has been loaded, you're going to go ahead and set up your departure and your arrival. All right, departing today out of KLKC, we're going to take runway 35, right. And taking a look at a flight plan here on Navigraph, which I have on my other screen. We're going to go ahead and take off from 35 right. We're going to take mod 3 with all for transition as far as our departure is concerned. All right, so let's put that aside. Again, 35 right, mod 3, and all forward. Once you've done your departure, go back to index, select your arrival airport. And as you can see here, we are taking runway 13 into Houston on the Kids 4 with Neil transition, and it's going to be ILS runway 13 right. So we said ILS runway 13 right. We're going to select Kids 4 for the arrival and Neil transition. Once we're good with that, we're going to go to route. We're going to go ahead and activate and execute. Once we've done that, we're going to go to performance initialization. On the PMDG for the zero fuel weight, all you got to do, you can either go look it up on your tablet, or you can just push one time on zero fuel weight to get it in your scratch pad, and the second time to put it in your zero fuel weight. Now, our planned fuel today is going to be 14.9, so we'll put that in there. And then I have what's called a SimBrief panel that I downloaded off of flightsim.to that gives you all your information, including your raw flight plan, if you wish to look at it this way. But we're looking for our reserve, which if we go to our payload, our reserve is 2.1. So we'll punch in 2.1 on our reserve. Cost index, if we go to our summary page, our cost index right here, CI, is going to be 69. There it is. And looking at our flight plan again, our cruise altitude is going to be 330. For the cruise wind, we're going to go to the weather tab and we're going to look at our average wind component, which is 230 at 85. And I'll punch that in there. Once everything is filled in, you're going to click execute and you're going to go to your next tab, which is N1 limit. Now, in order to get our N1 limits and performance, we're going to go ahead and back up here, go to our performance tool. We're going to import from OFP upstairs here. We're going to select runway 35 right. Beautiful. Then as far as the aircraft is concerned, we're going to import everything from the aircraft. We're going to leave takeoff flaps to optimum, rating optimum, and ICE is going to stay off. There's our weight, there's a CG, and packs are going to be on. We're going to go ahead and import the weather, calculate performance. Now we'll see that we are taking off flaps 5, and one rating is 88.18. Takeoff 1 for the D rate. Cell temp is 44, trim is 4.88, V1, VR, and V2 as follow, 35, 36, and 41, and VREF is 143 with our weight here at the bottom. So takeoff 1 is going to be our D rate and one performance here. So we're going to go ahead and select takeoff 1, and then we're going to go to the next page, takeoff page. Our optimum flaps is going to be 5. Our CG is 25.1. And our V speeds are going to be, again, 135, 36, and 41. So 135, 136 and 141. There you go. Now that you've done that, one good thing to do is to go to our plan mode as far as the map is concerned. And I usually switch this to about 40 on the range. And then I'm going to step through my flight plan to make sure that everything is good to go. So we're taking off runway 35. Immediate left turn for our seat to, if we're looking at departure here, we can actually see that coming out of runway 35 or 35 right or left, we're going to go do an immediate turn at 1800 feet, above 1800 feet here to 311 degrees. All right. Once we are on a heading of 311 degrees and clear of the runway, if we had a ATCO line that will vector us to our next waypoint, if we don't have that ATCO line, then we're going to vector ourselves to our next waypoint, which in our case will be, where are we at here? Come on. In our case, it'll be GLOPS. Right? So if we step through it, we can actually see that. There's our next waypoint, GLOPS, and we're going to continue to step through the flight plan, make sure everything's good to go. Make sure there's no crazy discontinuities. And if there are, figure out why that discontinuity is there. Kind of like here, you know, this is going straight that way. That's because this is our last vector for the arrival. After this vector, we are supposed to go ahead and get vectors into the localizer by ATC and or vector ourselves into our first waypoint of the localizer to capture the ILS and finally land in runway 13 right into Houston. So that's the down and dirty there. Once you're happy with that, you can go ahead and go to legs. You can switch this back to map, and I usually set my range to about 10 there, so that's good to go. All right, once you are happy with your flight plan, what you're going to do is you're going to set up your MCV panel. So you're going to do that by setting your altitude. If you have an initial altitude climb, such as initial climb to 5,000 and expect flight level 330 and 10, then you will put 5,000 in there. In our case, we do not have an ATC, and we're going to climb via SID up to our cruise altitude, which is 330. So we're going to go ahead and bug up 330 on the altitude tab here. Just like so. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to set our heading to our initial heading immediately after takeoff. In our case, we said that we want to make a left turn 311 degrees. So we're going to set this to 311 degrees. And we're going to set V2 on the IIS here, which V2 is 141. There you go. That's all good there. All right, now that we have got our clearance, our departure has been briefed, we know exactly what we're doing. We are familiar with our plane, and we are ready to go. What we can do is we can go ahead and go back up to the overhead panel. We're going to set our pressurization panel up to our cruise altitude, which is 330. And we're going to set our landing altitude to the elevation of the airport that we're taking off from. And the reason why we do that is in case we need to abort and come and land back into this airport, we need to have our landing altitude set to this airport. So we are going to set 1296, so 1300 on the landing altitude. 1300 set. All right, right after that, we're going to go ahead and turn our left aft boost pump on and get the APU going. So APU is going to go on and start. Once that's been done, we're going to go ahead and monitor our APU gauges. We should get an indication here of low pressure. There's a low oil pressure indication, meaning the APU is pulling up. And it should go out a few seconds after it comes on. All right, low oil pressure light is out. APU EGT is pulling up, and then it's going to settle back down. Once the APU becomes available, you will see the generator light illuminate, the generator bus lights. All right, APU is clearly now available. Let's go ahead and get our APU gens on, 1 and 2. Go up here and switch this to APU gen and bus. And we need to go ahead and set our left and right packs to auto. Isolation valve is going to stay open, and APU bleed is going to go ahead and come on. At this point, now that the APU is on, everything is up and running, and the air is flowing, you will get your passengers boarded on the aircraft. So if you have GSX and you wish to do that, go ahead and do that now. All right, while the passengers are boarding, we're going to go ahead and make sure that our radios is good to go. In our case, we're going to set our radios to 122.8 because we are going to be on Unicom. We do not have ATC. All right, once the plane has been boarded and you are ready to go, you're going to bring up your GSX if that's what you use. And you're going to tell GSX to prepare you for pushback and departure. We're not going to do that, and we're not going to do that as well. All right, GSX is going to go ahead and disconnect the jetway. They're going to hook up the tow tractor, and we are going to make sure that all our doors and everything is closed and good to go here. Everything is good to go. Beautiful. Ground services, we need to make sure that our parking brake is set, which indeed it is. We're going to go ahead and release the ground unit and remove the chucks. All right, while they're hooking up, we're going to go ahead and turn on our anti-collision light on the overhead panel. Position lights are going to stay steady, and we're going to make sure that our fuel pumps are on for engine start. We're going to wait until they are ready to push us back. We're going to do a straight push facing north on ramp. All right, release parking brakes. Go ahead and release your parking brakes.
Commencing push. All engines clear. Start at wheel.
All right, start at wheel. We're going to go up into our overhead panel. We're going to go ahead and set our packs to off again. Ignition switch set to both in my case, and number 2 engine start switch set to ground. Start valve is going to be illuminated. We're looking for N1 and AGT to start rising. We're going to wait for N2 to reach about 25%, at which point we're going to go ahead and introduce fuel with the fuel cutoff lever on the number 2. All right, there's 25. We'll throw in some fuel. And we're looking for light off. There's light off. Fuel flow. All pressure is rising. All temp is rising. Everything is looking good. We monitor all our gauges and we wait for the start valve to extinguish. We'll set the parking brake. Start valve is out, meaning we have a good engine start on 2. Let's go ahead and fire up number 1. Number 1 switch is going to go to ground. Click a little down. Start valve is going to be illuminated, meaning we got air getting pushed through the engine. N1 and EGT is on the rise. We are looking for 25% on N2, at which point we'll introduce fuel for light off. All right, there's a fuel. fuel flow, and light off.
Tow truck disconnected. Bypass pin removed. Left is clear. Right is clear.
Again, we're waiting for the start valve to extinguish, at which point we know we have a good engine start. There goes the switch, and there goes the engine. The start valve light as extinguished. All right, good engine start. Let's go ahead and start by switching both ignition switches to continuous. For takeoff, we're going to go ahead and turn number 1 gen and number 2 gen on. We're going to switch our master here to gen 1. Now that we have both engines aligned, we can actually go ahead and turn on Pro Beats. We are going to go ahead and set our packs to auto, left and right. Isolation valve is going to go to auto. APU bleed can go ahead and come off at this point, and the APU can go ahead and come off as well. All right, from the top down, guys, again, everything upstairs is checked. First thing we're going to do here, we're going to go ahead and arm our auto throttle, flight director 1 and 2. VNAV and LNAV can go ahead and come on. Auto brake can be set to RTO. Flaps can be set to takeoff, which is 5. And we'll double check indication. We are going to go ahead and set our transponder to transponder. There goes, flaps are 5 as indicated. The FMC is asking us to verify our takeoff speed, so we can do that by going to menu, FMC, index, takeoff, and just go ahead and input the first V1 here, and everything is good to go. Our trim is going to be 488. Looking at this, looks like we're around 488, so I'm happy with the trim. At this point, we can check our flight control if we wish to do so. So we're going to go full up, full down, right, left, rather right, and rather left, free and clear. Engine instruments, again, checked. At this point, a checklist will tell you to turn this off. I leave it on because that's what I like. Last but not least, we are going to turn our taxi light on. And if it's dark out, you may wish to turn on your logo light as well. We'll do a quick recall. Everything is good to go. And we are clear on the left, clear on the right. We can go ahead and disengage our parking brake. And if you are on a network after receiving clearance to taxi, you may do so. If you are on a network and there's no ATCs online, then you would announce your taxi procedures, at which point you will start taxiing. I'm not on a network, so I'm not worried about it, but we are going to taxi the runway 35. Quick way to do a takeoff config check is to push your power lever all the way to the max and bring it back down. If you don't hear anything screaming at you, that means that your takeoff config is good. So you may proceed with taxi. Immediately after taxiing, you're going to go ahead and start rolling and check your brakes. Brakes are good. And now we can proceed with taxiing to our runway. We're going to do a full U-turn here. And we are going to taxi via Juliet Foxtrot Echo to Echo 13. All right, parking brake is set. All right, at this point, you will wait for clearance to depart if you are on the network. If you're not on the network, if you are on the network and there's no ATCs online, you will do your takeoff checks. In our case, we're going to make sure that our position lights are set to strobe and steady. Taxi lights are going to go ahead and come off. Runway turn off lights are going to go ahead and come on. Landing lights are going to go ahead and come on. Transponder is going to be set to TARA. Traffic can go ahead and be turned on. And if you wish so, you can go ahead and start your timer as well. Confirm that you are taking off the right runway by looking at the number on the ground, which in our case is 35 right. We already looked at it. And if you are on Unicom, you will announce that you are about to line up and depart from runway 35 via SID or runway heading with radar vectors to whatever waypoint you're going to. Again, that's all depends on your actual takeoff procedures and what airport and what SIDs you're using and all that good stuff. In our case, we're going to take off runway 35 on a heading of 311 degrees and radar vectors to GLOPS or GLOPS, whatever you call that waypoint that we are going to. So now that you are ready to roll, again, you have announced that you are going to be lining up and taking off. We'll do just that. Parking brakes are coming off. And let's go. We are indeed clear on the right and on the left. Let's go ahead and line the plane up. You can go ahead and review your after takeoff if you want right now. But after takeoff, positive rate, you're going to put your gear up. I would say about 1,000 feet, you may go ahead and engage your autopilot or Command A if you wish to do so. If not, you may wish to fly the plane. Auto brakes are going to come off. Gear levers are going to be up and locked. Engine start switch is going to be set to auto or off, whichever that position is. Runway turn off lights off. Flaps retract with speed. Check cabin pressure and altimeter set to standard after transition altitude. And obviously, passing 10,000 feet, you're going to turn your landing lights and seatbelt signs off as required. Now that that's been reviewed, let's go ahead and bump our power up to about 40%. And feet coming off the brakes. Positive down pressure on the yoke. All right, 40% is stable. Let's set toga. Toga set. Airspeed is alive. At about 80, we're going to go ahead and go neutral on the yoke. Coming up on V1. Maintain that center line. Let's go ahead and rotation. One Nation. You all know what it is, guys.
Positive rate of climb.
Positive rate of climb. Gear's going to go ahead and come up. Passing 1,800 feet. We're going to initiate left turn to 311 degrees. By your flight directors. Alright, there's 311. Let's pitch for speed. If you was on Unicom, you'll announce that you are passing 4,200, clear runway 35 right. Last call. See ya. Alright, coming up on flat speed. Flaps up to 1. Make sure you stay on course. All right, speed checks, flaps up. Passing 6,000 feet. At this point, you may wish to go ahead and engage your autopilot. So we're gonna go Command A, and we're gonna go ahead and go radar vectors to glops. Execute. The plane is gonna do plane things, and we're gonna go ahead and do some of the after takeoff checklist here. Again, gear is up. We're gonna go ahead and lock it. We're gonna make sure that our flaps are up and indicated. Runway turn off lights can go ahead and come off. Ignition switches can go ahead and go off. Our auto brakes can go ahead and go off as well. Cabin pressure is checked. Let's increase the wrench. Again, radar vector to glops. Everything is looking good there. Passing 10,000 feet, we're going to go ahead and coming up here quick. We're going to go ahead and turn off our landing lights. And I also, at this point, like to turn off my logo light as well. You would also decide to turn off passenger seatbelt signs off, but we're still going through some weather here, so at this time I am deciding not to do that. We're gonna wait until we get a little higher and above these clouds. One good habit to have is to always keep your adding bug matched with your current adding, which in our case is 158, so we'll set that to 158. Everything is proceeding as planned. Passing 18,000, we're going to go ahead and set standard. And now we're going to let the plane climb to our final cruise of 330. In the meantime, we can monitor everything and make sure that everything is going to plan. You may wish to monitor your progress, fuel. You may wish to look up current winds, if any changes have happened in the weather itself at cruise. Request new winds, or whatever else. So you can do all that through the FMC. Again, that's a separate tutorial in its own, so we're not going to go on that. We're just going with the down and dirty, cold and dark, A to B to the destination gate. But yeah, as of right now, that's what we're doing, man. We're just going to let the plane climb up to our cruise altitude. Again, if you're on the network, you'll be paying close attention to ATC. Don't be stepping away. If you need to step away and you're on a network, you'll be asking the ATC to step away. I wouldn't do something stupid like asking to step away for 15-20 minutes. Honestly, if you need to step away, it needs to be to either go take a leak, go get a bottle of water. You know, it's an emergency. If you need to step away for more, the way I look at it, guys, if you're on VetSim or on the network and you need to step away for more than 5 minutes, then just log off. Just log off and do a flight next time. There's always next time. If you want to fly on the network, you want to do a flight, you need to make sure that you have ample time to be able to deal with ATCs, deal with other traffic. I mean, even on the network without ATC online, right? You don't know when an ATC may come online. You don't know if there's traffic that's going to be impeding your direction of travel. So you need to be present in the cockpit at all times. If you need to step away, if you're on a network and there's no ATCs, then you need to be messaging on a vPilot saying stepped away for 5 minutes. We'll be back at this time UTC or whatever, right? You can't just step away and leave and come back when you're ready to land. That's not something you should be doing. All right. Another thing that you should not be doing is flying on the network if you do not know how to fly your plane. Make sure you learn how to fly your plane. Make sure you are proficient with the plane. I'm not saying you need to be a real world pilot. I'm saying just be proficient. All right, know how to do, know how to navigate all the different pages on the FMC. Know how to do a flight plan change if you need to. Know how to change your runways. Know how to change your arrivals. Know how to do a hold. Know how to set up a fix. Those are little simple things that you should know to begin with before you even get on the network. You can't expect for the network to be your teaching tool. You got to teach yourself before joining the network. The ATCs are not going to teach you how to fly the plane. Other pilots are not going to teach you how to fly the plane. The other pilots and the ATCs are just going to get aggravated at the fact that you do not know what you're doing. So make sure you know what you're doing before getting on the network. Don't just willy-nilly get on the network and say, okay, well, let's try this out. VetSim is not something for you to try out. VetSim is what VetSim is. It is a simulation of the real world traffic, right? So, again, please make sure you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, learn and then join the network. Make sure that you have done plenty of hours as an observer listening to ATC and pilot traffic, listening to all that stuff. Maybe fly along in observer mode and make sure you're doing all the right things. But you need to have at least a basic understanding on how everything in your plane works. Don't up from plane to plane. Get proficient with the PMDG if that's what you wish to do. Don't fly the PMDG today and then get in the 320 tomorrow and then get in the 146 the next day. That is not the right way to do business on VetSim. Bring the plane on VetSim that you are most proficient with. If you are most proficient with the PMDG, then fly the PMDG. If you're most proficient with the fly-by-wire 320, then fly that. If you wish to fly the Phoenix because you think you know the Phoenix inside and out, then fly the Phoenix. Don't up from one plane to another if you don't know what you're doing. Even myself, I put hours and hours of flying a different plane if I plan to take it on the network, because I don't want to be caught with my pants down, not knowing what the hell I'm doing. That just makes you look stupid. So don't do that. Now, I'm not saying you need to know everything. Again, you need to have a basic understanding on what you're doing. All right? You need to have a basic understanding on what you're doing, and you need to have a basic understanding on how to operate your aircraft. If you do not have that, then you do not belong on the VetSim network. Be proficient, guys. Be proficient before you even logged in, right? If you make a mistake, it is absolutely understandable. Everybody makes mistakes. I make mistakes all the time. I'm probably making mistakes right now. But guess what? The basics are there. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm flying from A to B. I'm following a flight plan. I'm doing all the right, I'm respecting all the right constraints, speed limitations. I'm doing all the right things. There are basics within flying on the network. So keep that in mind, guys. Please make sure you're proficient. Please make sure you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, go look at tutorials. Go look at, there's tons of YouTubers that do this kind of stuff. Tutorials, how to do this, how to do that, how to set up views on the planes, how to program the FMC, how to do a hold, how to change an arrival, how to set up an ILS approach. You know, all that stuff is there, guys. All the stuff is there. Again, this tutorial is not an in-depth tutorial of the Boeing 737. This is a quick down and dirty, from cold and dark, A to B flight to the destination gate. That is it. All right, we're doing A to B. That's all we're doing. We're not simulating changing the runway arrival. We're not simulating doing a hold. That is a total different tutorial on its own. You know, planning fixes, you know, all that stuff. That's a whole separate tutorial on its own. This is the basics. Putting power on the plane, getting things started, making sure that everything is functioning the way it should, flying from A to B on the network, having fun, doing it right, and not getting caught with your pants down. That's what this is, right? This is not a pilot talking. I am not a pilot, like I said at the start of the video. I am not a pilot, nor do I claim to be a real world pilot on YouTube. That's not what I am. All right, I am an enthusiast. I'm a flight simmer. I love doing this. This is my hobby, and I know just enough to get me in trouble. And I'm willing to share what I know with you guys. So if you do appreciate this type of content, let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you hit that like. And we'll keep trying doing stuff like this. You know, maybe next time we'll do a tutorial on other stuff, you know, olds and fixes or whatever the case might be, right? But yeah, if I don't see traction, then I'm pretty much not gonna keep doing this, because it will be a waste of time to keep doing this for no reason, right? So absolutely, guys. Everything is looking good here. There is our 1,000 to go for a cruise. Everything is set. Standard is set. Everything is proceeding normally. Again, following our flight plan, we can go ahead and zoom out on our range. And basically, once we reach our top of climb, we are cruising and monitoring everything, including fuel and winds and everything else, until we get to our top of descent. Now, you may wish to set up your FO FMC to destination, and if you do that, it's going to tell you that our top of descent is coming up in 184 nautical miles. All right, at this point, like I said, guys, we're going to be monitoring everything. You're going to keep monitoring everything, especially if you're on a network. You're going to make sure that there's no ATCs coming online. If there is, you're going to wait for the famous Bing, and you're going to reply to that. You're going to contact them. In order to contact ATC, you need to let them know who you are, where you are, what's your altitude, what are you doing, you know, all that good information, right? The basic information for once you contact ATC for the first time, especially if they come online after you have taken off, is I don't know, Oakland Center, Southwest 779, flight level 330, 72 nautical miles north of Charlie Victor Echo, right? Whatever that might be. If you don't know what Charlie Victor Echo is, you can always pull it up on your charts, and you can find out what the name of that actually of that is, which in our case would be Cowboy, right? That's the name of that particular VOR. So you would say that you are 69 nautical miles north of Cowboy, and then they might say, okay, we got your radio contact, squawk, blah blah blah, and ident, right? You would do that. You would change your squawk code and ident, which is right there, ident. All right. Having said all that, guys, we're gonna go ahead and talk to you about, I would say, 30 to 40 miles before our top of descent. All right, checking our top of descent here, we're about 59 nautical miles from our top of descent, so we can start looking at some stuff here. We can go to our performance tool. We can go to our landing en route. We're gonna go ahead and import everything from our OFB. Runway is going to be 13 right. Import aircraft details. We're going to go ahead and try flaps 30. Packs are going to be on, NIs off. Reverse config, we're going to get all up. Auto brakes are going to be set to 3. And condition are going to be normal. Import a weather calculate. Now we can see on this that our stopping distance is going to be 5,531 feet. The runway is 7,602 feet, so plenty of stopping distance. So we are good with the flap 3 config. We can go ahead and go to our menu. We can go to our index and go to our approach page, and we can go ahead and select our flaps to 30 degrees, 1/4 knots on the VREF, and put it into our flaps and speed selection. So we are landing flaps 30, 140 on the VREF. Another good idea would be to get our rival METAR. We can see here 190 at 9 is the speed. We are landing runway 13 right, so that's good to go in my book. Not bad at all. We got A-Touch mile visibility, broken and overcast. Temperatures 22, altimeters 2973. So go ahead and set our altimeter here 2973. And we are going to leave that in standard for the time being, obviously, until we get below transition. And yeah, everything else is good to go right now. We're just waiting to reach our top of descent, which again, it's coming up in 40 nautical miles. Another thing we can do while we edit, since we don't have ATCs online, so I'm not going to divert from my flight plan, is we can take a look at our arrival, which is the Kids Fort. All right, you guys can see here that we're coming in at Neil, right? So our arrival from Neil, our first restriction is going to be 280 above 240 at max, and so on and so forth. If we follow our flight plan all the way down, all right, our last waypoint of our arrival is ASUS. So at ASUS, which is right here, we're expected to cross Christie here, 210 on the speed and 6,000. So our last restriction on altitude and speed is 6,000 and 210 at Christie, right? So passing ASUS, that's where we're going to be at, 210 and 6,000. And then we're going to keep our descent to our arrival, whichever that is. We said 13 right. Looking at 13 right, we are going to grab the localizer at 2,000 feet. So we can set 2,000 feet after ASUS and keep our descent going to Royce. Royce is right here. So from Zeus, we're going to red the vector ourselves north, and then we're going to intercept at Jabs, right? We can see that at Jabs, we are expected to cross at 2,000 feet at Jabs, 130 degrees on the heading, and then at Royce, we're going to capture the localizer and start descending towards our arrival runway. So the first thing we're going to do is, since we are indeed 26 nautical miles from our top of descent, we're going to set our altitude down to 6,000 feet initially. And Boeing, PMDG, once it reaches top of descent, is going to start descending automatically to that pre-selected 6,000 feet. Now, if you had ATC, that would have probably just told you to initial descent down to whatever, 10,000 or whatever. That's what you would have done. But since we don't have ATCs, we're flying on our own. Even if we're on a network on 122.8, I would set my final restriction of my arrival, which is, in our case, 6,000 feet. Having done that, we're going to take a look at our arrival runway, and we're going to go ahead and start programming our localizer, final approach course, and our decision altitude, which is 296. So 111.3 on the localizer, 131 on the final approach course, and we're looking at 296 for decision altitude. In order to do that, we're going to look down here. We're going to set 111.3 on our standby. And then transfer it to active, and we're going to do that on the FO side as well. 111.3, and punch that into the active as well. Final approach course is going to be 131, so we can do that. Let's go to 131 on our side and on the FO side as well. And then for our decision altitude, we said that it was 296. So we're going to go ahead and select radio and go to 296. And there you go. Everything is pretty much set up for arrival. We're just waiting to reach top of the descent. We're going to monitor everything. We can go ahead and decrease our wrench just to make sure everything is going to plan. Set it to like 20 on the range. There's the top of the descent coming up. We need to make sure that once we do reach our top of descent, the plane starts descending as it should. And we're going to bring up our arrival chart on our second monitor if you have one, or if not, you can actually bring it up on here as well, guys. And it's actually right here. We're going to go to arrival. Beautiful. Why did it kick me back that way? Anyways, arrival. And then we're going to look for the kids 4, which is right here. We can pin it if we like to. Bring it up. Beautiful. We can make it full screen. And again, coming in at Neil. We're going to pay attention to all our restrictions and make sure that we are obeying by all these restrictions, right? So obviously, top of descent has already started, as you can see. We are descending with the path. VNAV path is set. LNAV is set. Power is getting retarded, so we're going too fast. We're going to monitor our speed, monitor our descent, make sure the plane is doing plane things. Again, we can go ahead and reset our heading to our current course, which is 156. Just in case we need to take over with heading select. And we're going to monitor everything. Right now we are heading towards max. We know that at max we need to be above 240 and we need to be at 280 knots indicated. So again, we're about 12.8 from max. By the time we get to max, we need to be at 280 and we still need to be above flight level 240. That's our first restrictions. Let's see if the plane does what it's supposed to do. We'll let it do its thing. You can actually double check on your flight plan, and that's indeed what the plane is going to try to do, which is right here, 280, flight level 240 above. At EVA, we're looking to be 280 on the speed, and we need to be between 200 and 240. So again, when you see something like this, that means you need to be above 200 and below 240. All right, there you go. The plane is leveling. It's trying to slow down now. There you go. We're coming up to max. If the plane doesn't do nothing crazy, we're going to let it keep doing what it's doing. Staying with the VNAV path. Slowing down to 280. Everything's looking good. As far as the descent checklist, if you're using one, obviously it's going to ask you for the destination weather, which we looked at. Arrival data set and checked. We have all that set and checked. You know, we did our we are screening our arrival as we speak. We already programmed the localizer frequencies. We programmed a final approach course, and we program a decision altitude as well. Personalization panel will make sure that the landing altitude is set. We're gonna do that by going to Navigraph, and we're gonna go ahead and get our elevation of the field, which is 46 feet. So we're gonna set that to 50. Landing elevation is 50. Beautiful. Radios, nav aids set. I mean, if you have ATC, obviously you're going to be on the ATC frequency. If not, you're going to be on 122.8, and you're going to announce at the very least every 5 minutes or so. When you start your descent, you're going to announce that you're starting your descent. Halfway through it, you're going to say, this is the altitude, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm doing, and you're going to keep doing that every so often to make sure that everybody around you on Unicom knows exactly where you at, what you're doing, and where you're coming from, where you're trying to go. So always make sure that you are making the appropriate calls. Again, localized RLS frequency, of course, is set. Anti-icing is required, obviously. If you're going through moisture and there's ice, and that's something that you care about, and you have icing effects turned on in the sim, which I don't, because they don't work well, then you would monitor your anti-ice, turn anti-ice on as required, and all that good nonsense. Altimeter set for transition level. Again, we're looking at 2973. Once we reach transition, we're going to go ahead and set the altimeter to 2973. It's already preset and ready to go. Minimums, again, they're set 296. We're going to select the appropriate flap and VREF and the FMC for the landing. In our case, we calculated our approach VREFs and flap settings with our UFT here, with our calculators, and we determined that we are going to go in flaps 30, 140 on the VREF, and that's all set and good to go. All right, auto brakes, again, we said we were going to set that to 3, so let's set them to 3. Warning call checks and consider good. MCT reset altitude, we already set to 6,000 descending on the VNAV path. Everything is proceeding as planned. Another thing to look at is your landing lights, runway turn off lights, and seatbelt signs as required. So what does that mean? That means that in my case, once I reach 10,000 feet, I'm going to go ahead and set my landing lights on. I'm going to do my runway turn off lights. And if I had turned off the seatbelt sign during the flight, which I didn't, I would turn it back on around 10,000 feet or so, or depending on the weather as required, right? The first thing we're going to be paying attention to again is we keep monitoring our restrictions and making sure that we are abiding by it. Right now we are 11.6 nautical miles from case, and by looking at our arrival, we know that at case we're expected to be between flight level 190 and 16,000 feet at a speed of 280 knots. So right now we're doing 269, 27. I'm not too concerned with that. We can maintain that speed. That's great. And our altitude is going to be between 16,000 and flight level 190 crossing case. Again, you can either look at it in the chart, or you can even see it by looking at your display here. It's going to have your restrictions on there as well. The other thing to pay attention to is 18,000 feet. As soon as we get to 180, we need to set altimeter to 2973. All right, coming up on 18,000, let's go ahead and set 2973. There it is. Beautiful. Plane is going to adjust accordingly. Keep looking at our arrival chart. We can see we are tracking case. This is a little off, but yeah, it's something that PMDG said that they have fixed, but it is obvious that it's not fixed yet because we're clearly already crossing case, and over here it's showing us crossing Beanie, but it is what it is. That's the beautiful beautiful UFT, man. Thank you for that, PMDG. Really do appreciate it, but I digress. Speed is still looking good. I mean, we are a little bit under the 280 indicated, but that's not too much of an issue, unless the ATC is clearly contacting you and be like, hey, I need you to be at 280 or above, then so be it. But if the ATC is not fussing and there's no traffic around that's either catching up with you or you catching up with them, there's nothing that you need to do with the speed. You can just let the plane do plane things, and you should be good to go. Again, periodically check your adding bug and make sure that it is aligned with your current adding, because you never know when you might be taking over LNAV, either instructed by ATCs or else, right? So you always want to make sure that this is bugged up to your current adding. You might have ATC call you and say, okay, Southwest 779, turn left, adding, 090, and that's what you need to be doing. So if your edit bug is like facing the opposite direction, obviously it's going to take you longer to go ahead and adjust for that instruction. So always keep that aligned with your current editing. All right, we're coming up on kids. We'll see here at kids. We need to be 280 again on the speed, and we need to be between 12,000 and 14,000 feet. We are almost at 14,000 here. There you go. Perfect. Still looking good on the speed. Now we're looking good on the altitude, so we're crossing this waypoint just like we should. No issue there whatsoever. Our next restriction is going to be 12,000 feet at Sniffy, 270 on the speed. So again, there's Sniffy. Need to be at 12,000, which we are approaching. We're doing 272 right now. This should be adjusting once we are over Sniffy to 270, and we should have no problem maintaining 270 there. Next restriction, as far as speed is concerned, is not going to be until Glover, which is 240. So we'll maintain 270 here. The plane slowed down a little too much, but it's going to come back up here in a second. So no big deal. It should work itself out. There you go. We're back up with the speed. Doing good. Now our next waypoint is going to be Reeve, and we can see that we need to be above 11,000 feet. So we're going to be maintaining 270 and 11,000 here until we get to Reeve. At which point we're gonna go down to 10,000 feet at Haas. We need to stay above 9,000 at Glover, 240 on the speed, and then we're gonna be turning left. I'm sorry, towards Christie, 6,000 feet, 210 on the speed, and then ASUS, and then Red Vectors to final. All right, we are crossing Reeve now. We're tracking Haas. 5.5 nautical miles from Haas. Continue to descend down to 10,000 feet. At this point, we can actually look up and go ahead and turn on our landing lights. We're going to go ahead and turn on our runway turn-off lights. And we're going to make sure that our lights are still in strobe. And anti-collision is on. Beautiful. Good to go. We're going to set our ignition switches to continuous flight mode here for landing. At this point, if your seatbelt signs still off, go ahead and make sure they're on. Looking at our approach course here, our arrival chart, I'm sorry. We need to be 240 above 9,000 at Glover here. So crossing Haas, 10,000. Beautiful. We have some traffic close to us, but it's no factor. Alright, stabilizing here. 10,000. We need to be above 9,000 at Glover. Slowing down to 240 on the speed. Everything is looking good. It's requesting for drag here, but it's not required. So we should be good to go. Again, 240 on the speed. Above 9,000 at Glover. Looking good. Next restriction is going to be Christie. 210 on the speed. 6,000 on the altitude. Perfect. Everything is looking good. Again, periodically check your editing bug. Make sure that you are aligned. We're going to be turning left here soon, so let's go ahead and turn that to approximately the same direction, and then we'll check it once we are actually heading that way. There you go. Turning left now. Departing Glover, above 9,000 feet, 240 on the speed. Everything's looking fantastic. I usually like to set myself up a fix of at least 10. From the arrival runway. That's just visual reference for myself, but this is personal preference. But if you like to do more, like 10, 5, 15, whatever it is, you can do so as well. What that's going to do is going to draw a circle, a radius here of 10 nautical miles around the runway itself. All right, we're continuing. Very good here. 090 on the heading. Perfect. Departing Zeus or Zeus, whatever it's called. Departing Zeus. We're gonna go 311 on the heading to set ourselves up to go ahead and circle and capture the first waypoint of our arrival or approach. I'm sorry, in our case. So for our approach, we are looking to do the ILS approach runway 13. Come on. Hello. All right, you're gonna do that. Okay, cool. Pinned. All right, approach. All right, there you go. So again, we're looking to be at jobs 2,000 feet. So we're gonna set ourselves up for that. All right, 1,000 to go for 6,000 feet. Everything's looking good. Slowing down to 210 as we should. All right, at this point, I'd like to take over the speed. And again, I want to maintain 210. I don't want to be any slower than 210 at this point. We're still 10 out. We're still far out here from our thing. From the field. So we are heading towards the localizer area. We don't want to do that. We actually want to go ahead and turn left, heading 311. And if you were on the network, you would announce that that's what you're doing. And you go heading select, and now we're turning left to set us up for a downwind type deal, right? So we're gonna turn left, 311 on the course, which is the opposite of our arrival. And then we're gonna make a U-turn. We're gonna turn right for base, and then right again for final. We're gonna go ahead and keep our descent going down to 2,000 feet because we're gonna be at 2,000 over jabs. All right, and we'll do that level change. All right, descending nicely, maintaining 210 on the speed, descending nicely down to our 2,000 feet, because that's where we want to be at jabs again. All right, we're at 4,900. I'm happy with that. Let's go ahead and initiate our right base turn. Again, if you were on a network, you would 100% positively announce that you are turning right base or runway 13 right. All right, and now we can actually tell the plane to go ahead and go straight to jobs. And again, you would announce that if you were on a network. LNAV is going to be active, and VNAV is going to be active again. There's my reference there. That means that this line here, I'm going to be 10 nautical miles away from the runway. All right, 1,000 to go for 2,000. Speed is still looking good. Take over the speed here. Slow it down to about 190. There you go. We can set flaps to 5. And we can actually tell the plane to capture the localizer when able. There's a localizer captured. Beautiful. All right, let's set flaps 10. I'm sorry, what did I say, 5? Still 190 on the speed, looking good. Coming up at 10 miles from final, you would announce that you are on a 10-mile final, runway 13 right, Houston traffic. We're looking at VRAF for 140, flaps 30. So that's what we're going to set up for. One last thing to make sure on our approach checklist is that our speed brakes are armed. And there you go, speed brakes are armed, indeed, with a green light. Let's keep slowing down to about 180. Bring our flaps down to 10. Everything's looking good. Localizer has been captured. Let's go ahead and activate the approach. And near shot where we should be capturing the approach as well. Right now is a good time to take a look at your missed approach. Right here says climb to 800 feet, then climbing right, turn to 2200 feet, direct VUHVOR. Good. So glide slope is captured. Let's go ahead and set our go around altitude to 2200 feet, which it is, and slow down to about 160. 5 miles out. Landing gears coming down. Flaps coming down to 15. Alright, 5 mile final. We can go ahead and set final approach speed. Flaps 25. And finally flaps 30. We are now fully configured and ready to land. We are well beyond 5 miles. So at this point, if we wish to do so, we may call a short final runway 13 right. Houston traffic. Again, let the plane keep going down with the glide slope. Once you are ready, you may wish to take over the speed. Here comes 1,000 feet. Let's take over the speed. And I am actually going to go ahead and take over the plane as well. Alright, keep going down with the glide slope. Make sure you keep center line. Once you get a hold of the poppies, which I did, you make sure that you want to be on 2 whites and 2 reds all the way down as much as possible. Keep a nice descent profile going. Stay with the glide slope. Right now I'm on a little I, so I'm going to go down a little bit more. I'm going to watch my speed. He's easy on the throttles a little bit. Get rid of some of the speed. There he goes with 2 red and 2 whites again. 500 is being cross-checked. Let's make sure we stay center line. We got a little bit of wind pushing us, but that's all right. We're approaching minimums. Power is coming down. And we're still a little high. Let's make sure we go down. Aim for the numbers. Oh, we are way too high. Wow, okay.
200.
How did that happen? We're landing anyway. This is not a landing tutorial. It's a flying tutorial.
30,
So.
20, 10.
In any case, that was awesome landing. Versus coming down with fly the nose. Beautiful. Yeah, we came down a little quick, but in any case, that was a good landing. I won't complain about that one. Alright, manual braking. Reverse is coming out. And let's vacate to the left. Alright, vacated on Charlie, taxiing to the gates by Charlie. Beautiful. We can stop here real quick. Set our parking brake. Beautiful. Alright. After landing, we are going to make sure our flaps go up. Spoilers can be retracked or speed brakes. Transponder can be set to transponder there. Position light are going to go steady. We're gonna go ahead and turn off our landing lights. Runway turn off. We're gonna turn on our taxi light. We're gonna set our ignition switches to off or normal. And we're gonna go ahead and fire up the APU. Our probes can go ahead and come off. And auto brake can go ahead and come off as well. All right. At this point, we may receive instruction to taxi to our gate, so we're going to do that. Parking brakes coming off. You may also go ahead and turn off your flight directors. You don't need those anymore. All right, at this point, we can go ahead and isolation valve can go back to open. Left and right pack can go ahead and stay on. We don't need engine bleeds any longer. And we're about to park here, so in order to not blind anybody, we can go ahead and turn our taxi light off. There's a gate. Or 9 confirmed. All right, that's good enough for me. Parking brakes coming off. Or coming on, not off. And confirm that everything is good upstairs, which it is. Let's go ahead and shut them down. Seatbelt signs off. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Request deboarding, and we can actually go ahead and turn off our anti-collision light as we are parked. Parking brake set, everything is good to go. And if you was to shut down, you will proceed with your shutdown checklist to go back cold and dark. If you was to turn around, you would proceed with your turnaround checklist, whichever it is that you are doing. Other than that, this is going to be it for this very short and simple tutorial. I hope that you guys did enjoy indeed. If you guys appreciated the content and if you find it helpful in any way, please be sure to leave me a like and a comment in the comment section down below. And yeah, if you enjoyed this type of content, guys, please don't forget to let me know in the comments to do more type of these tutorials. Again, I am not a pilot, nor do I claim to be one. I am just giving you a tutorial from a flight simmer to another flight simmer in order to fly your plane efficiently and do all the right things with the knowledge we've been provided. If you want to do things by the book, just like a real Boeing pilot would do, a real Southwest pilot would do, then you need to go find a real Southwest pilot and have him teach you how to do all that stuff. This is the quick, down and dirty, from A to B, cold and dark, to starting, to climbing, to cruising, descending, and arriving, guys. This is what this is. Again, if you did appreciate this, please be sure to leave me a like and let me know in the comment down below what you think. Until next time, guys, please continue to stay safe, have fun, and as always, peace out. I'm out of here. See you.